Welcome to Bullets Nation, the podcast by Bullets fans for Bullets fans. I'm your host, Tracy Malone, a Bullets member since we came back into the league 10 years ago. In sporting teams, players change, coaches change, staff move on. We don't, Bullets fans, we're the constant. We've been here since the early days and we'll still be here when the next banner goes up. This is our space to talk about our team at length. No 30-second hot takes. We're here for real hoops chat. We love this club, we argue, we cheer, we ride every run and we carry every loss. So settle in and suit up. If you're Bullets family, you're home here. This is Bullets Nation. As always, let's tip off today by welcoming my co-hosts, Scott Husband and Cameron Porluck.
Hi, Tracy, I can.
Hello there. I'm going to kick things off where we've been kicking them off recently, and that's with Trivia Thursday. This week's question was, who was the Bullets' first coach in the NBL? Should have been an easy one. Answer was Bob Young.
I didn't know.
So shout out goes to Nathan Shaw again. He's had a couple of these shout outs now for being the first with the correct answer. And so well done, as always, Nathan.
Well done, Nathan.
Yeah, congratulations. Keen. He sits there.
Yes.
And waits for it. That is awesome. Well done. Okay, Jonny Drama petition. Let's talk about that first. We're up to 240 signatures so far. I think it's just over that now. I wrote this last time I checked. Let's hope it's enough to get our man, our hype man, back where he belongs soon. And we'll send an email to Mel tomorrow from the podcast, from all of us, and see what we can achieve with the voice of the supporters and really hope that we can get some change there. We need a bit of good energy flying into the end of the season to match the new players coming in. I think it would just be a really perfect time to change. So that would be great. One thing that I wanted to touch on that just came to me, and I realized this during the week and it seemed to just drop in, and I cannot believe I haven't thought of it before. We have been told consistently for years now when the new owners come in that when putting this team together, always they're looking at finding players with championship experience of some kind. They want players that know how to win. We all know because Shula sat there and said, we let Sobey go because we want winners here. I bet he would take that back and say it differently if he could, let me tell you. And so it was literally why Sobey is no longer with us. And so why is it only players that they are doing this for? And why did they hire a coach with no championship experience? So from our three coaches, who has championship experience? You did some exploring on that, Cam.
Yeah, so D-Mac as a player, he's got 3 championships. So 1994, 2006, 2008. And can I just say, those last 2 championships, he was 42 and 44 years old, respectively. That's just amazing. I forgot that he played
legend
that long. Absolute legend. And then as an assistant coach, he won in 2021 with Melbourne, with United. Vandy, nothing in NBL 1 or anything like that, but he does have that gold medal from the under-16s Asia Cup. I didn't get too deep into that. I feel like there might be another 1 or 2 in there with him with those under-16 teams because he's done quite well with them. And obviously nothing for Lash.
I was wondering if you were deliberately pausing or we were just going to move on there. Yeah, nothing. So it's really interesting because we know in a corporate structure, it starts from the top down. So they're putting expectations on players that they're not putting on their coaches. So there's a massive divide there. So we're not going to stop until something changes. If your values are there, your values are there.
Yeah.
How can it be excused for people who are running the show and not there?
I remember when Shula was coach, Jared Bairstow, that was his rationale for Justin Shula for signing Jared Bairstow. He's a great cultural fit and everything, but we want players who've won championships. That was his rationale for Jared Bairstow at the time. And so you can just use words to make a rational sort of put the spin on a signing, or is it a genuine criteria for roster construction? That's the question I have.
Yeah.
I've heard it this year. Because they talked about Dukas with it, and they're looking at it with all of the players that they're bringing in. Absolutely. They have to look at, are they able to win?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's carried on past Schuler, and it is a value that they hold for some people. Not all the people, apparently. Okay, so anyone who has been watching NBL Now, because they're doing the FIBA break series and they're doing report cards on the teams with a different person each day. And yesterday it dropped that they did one for the Bullets, and Aron Baynes did it. My God, was he kind. He did not have a negative or a constructive word to say whatsoever. If you haven't got him in that training outfit with them yet, you really should, because my goodness, he was kind to you. He gave the Bullets a C yesterday, and on today's Damon Lowry was the person doing their report card for the Kings, and he gave the Kings a C minus. So for the Bullets to get a C and the Kings to get a C minus, I'm like, oh, I think we should have a little bit of a play with this. So we had some fun. We said, what report card would you give the Bullets this season? Of course, me being me, I wrote one, a whole one, and I gave the Bullets a D. So far in the season. This is for the season up until now. And here is my comments, my teacher comments. The Bullets showed moments of promise this term, but spent far too many classes staring out the window. Attendance was inconsistent, focus drifted in and out like they were only half in their body, which may explain the unnecessary spills and the ongoing habit of forgetting where their man is on defence. Defending pick and rolls remains their unresolved maths problem. Classwork was patchy. Holt, Tyrell and Prather submitted some excellent assignments, with Prather being top of the class always, but the rest of the group struggled to follow instructions. Guards need to do more research on feeding the big man the ball. Defensive homework looks rushed, incomplete, and possibly copied from the wrong textbook. The teacher has had trouble keeping the class engaged. Lessons feel disorganised. Rotations change without explanation. Students look confused about what subject they're even in. The club took a gamble hiring this particular teacher, and it shows in the way the group wanders off mentally halfway through most lessons. The class is trying, but the teaching style isn't always landing with the brains in that room. The biggest behavioural mystery is the revolving door of players, especially imports. Many students sent to the principal's office this year and not a single one returned. The rest of the class is beginning to wonder if the principal's office is actually a portal to another dimension. Leadership needs strengthening. Several lessons were spent looking for a point guard or waiting for imports who seem to be on another campus entirely. Overall comment: shows potential but needs consistent effort, clear structure and a teaching approach that matches how this class learns. Defense should no longer be treated as optional homework. The class can improve if both students and teacher stay present for the full lesson. A more structured, clearer approach could bring the best out of this very capable but easily distracted class. That was so much fun to write.
Well done.
That's very impressive, Tracy. Especially the teacher component.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of that sounded a lot like my report cards as a kid.
Why do you think it was so easy for me to write? I had a lot to draw from.
Yeah.
Potential, if she'd listen.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm going to go with a D plus. I'm being a little bit kinder here. And the plus is just because of all the injuries they've had. And so there's that little bit of extra pass because I'd like to see what they would have been like without all of those injuries. For now, though, with the way things have been, it's just been too inconsistent on both ends of the court. The import changes and the risks that they've taken are a concern. And there's just been that lack of direction from the coach during games with the inability to adjust strategically on both ends when needed. Yeah, D plus for me.
Yeah. How about you, Scott?
Actually, D plus from me as well. Reasons being the blowouts make it low. the plus aspect of it, the green shoots of the young guys like Divas and Murray, giving it a plus, D plus instead of just a D, cutting them some slack there. If there weren't as many blowouts, a C minus would be possible. In taking the effort in the classroom analogy, there's a bit of playing with food, there's a bit of lack of focus. Resilience is not what it could be. And other clubs say if we have an injury, there's depth to cover that, and we should have depth. It's a tough one because of the health and fitness of the whole team, or lack thereof.
Yeah, Aron Baynes, he said something similar. He said, with your bench guys, you want to have great bench guys and not have to use them that much, which is what I've been saying in the earlier ones. The positive we can take out of it is that they are getting a run and they are able to see what they can do in game time experience.
Yeah.
What he did say in his review, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, he said, this is Tyrell's team. And I'm like, yes, big man. Preach to the choir. He said he needs to take the next step and he wants him to be the best big by the end of the season. He says he absolutely has the potential to be the best big in the league and he needs him to step up and be the best big in the league. He is too kind. He is too kind and he needs to get a little bit more selfish and he needs to take the game over and do his thing. I hope Tyrell watched that because coming from Bainesy, that should carry some weight. It's great young guys. We're getting the opportunity. And he said in order for them to get better this season and to make a run, somebody has to replace that scoring with Casey out.
Yeah.
They really have to. And he wants that to be Tyrell. He does.
Okay.
And what he also wants is consistent scoring from the bench. So when the guys are coming on, and I think it showed with Dukas when he had his minutes for the Boomers that he was coming out to make those shots and he just couldn't quite make them yet. So he was asking for consistency for those young guys when they do come out.
Yeah.
Most improved player for Bangor was Divas. I don't think anyone can argue with that.
No.
Best and fairest is still Casey. It's Casey. He can not play for the rest of the season and still be the best and fairest in, I think, all of our eyes because of just what he's able to do on the floor. He said most improved would be Casey Prather. He said even this season, coming in with his age, et cetera, he's still getting better. He's still better than he was last season, and that's such a testament to the man himself. So that means he would be MVP as well. And he said, so Casey standout MVP, and then Tyrell would be just behind, but he just needs to be a bit more selfish. He can see the bullets in the play-in.
Okay.
We're all seeing Tassie. He's seeing bullets. It's hard to see it when we haven't seen the team play with the new players in or the new lineup. And he gave them a C. So that's how Bangor saw it. But it's so nice to have this FIBA break because we get to talk about a whole bunch of different things, which is lovely. And so Cameron has asked us a question. What's our next thing we're going to do?
Yeah. So what do you think the Bullets starting five will look like coming out of the FIBA break now that we have that full roster? Interested to know what you think.
Yeah, this was a lovely little exercise to do. I was going to say experiment. It's like, we do not use the word experiment. A lovely exercise to do. I'm very happy to say that I found this really hard to do because I want Dukas and Holt in there and the 4 spot. I swayed back and forth with that, arguing with myself many times over what I was going to do there. I initially had Nordo in as the starting point guard and I looked at it and I thought, I don't want Nordo as the starting point guard. I really don't. Yeah. I believe he works better coming off the bench in bursts. The same reason we said for Casey Prather a long time ago. It's not that he's not capable of being a starting point guard, but when you look at the veteran experience and the age and the injuries that he's had, we need to be able to play him to the best of his ability. And I don't think he's a starting point guard for our team right now. And without seeing Taylor play a single game, I've got to put Holt in there. But if Terry does prove to be able to play bigger, I would immediately move him to that starting 4 spot. But having said that, his size in the league worries me. It really does. I need to see it. The form says that he plays bigger than he is. All right, but I'm going to need to see it with my own eyes to understand what that looks like and does it translate to the NBL. So my starting 5 at the 1 spot, at the point, I'm putting Dakota Mathias in there. I actually think he would be great at the point guard. Smack at number 2 because we need him on Bryce. We do not have the luxury of letting him play himself into form and letting Bryce and the lead slip away if we don't put him on first and foremost. So he's absolutely in my starting lineup and he is on Bryce. I've got JFL at the 3 spot. I've put Holt in at the 4 because I can't put a guy in who's trained with the team for a week. And I love what I see of Holt, so I know what I'm going to get from him. And he's at least seen Adelaide before. He didn't play against them, but he's at least seen them. And of course, I've got Harrison at the 5, and I'm pretty happy with that. How did you go, Scott?
Yeah, also hard for me because we don't know how much conditioning Taylor has. JFL, we don't think he's played. So it's a tough one. I see Nordo a bit differently. I agree, ideally, he should be coming off the bench, but in the short term, I just feel we need his leadership and direction from the jump. We need him to steer the ship because he just brings that control, that calmness to just get things moving in the right direction. It's the little 1% plays, and I genuinely feel that makes a difference. If it's for the first game or two post the break, I'm happy for him to be 6-man or whatever after. Adding the defensive starch as well, I feel, at least to start with, him as the starting one. Smack, I agree. If we're playing the 36ers, we need him on Bryce. Simple. JFL, it really comes down to what level of fitness does he have. Yep. If he's ready, if he's fit, yep, start him. The 4 spot, what sort of conditioning does Taylor have? I believe he's 6'4". We need him just smashing boards. And if he's anywhere like a cheap version of Zylan Cheatham, that's still contributing to what the Bullets need. But if he doesn't have the conditioning, then we need Holt starting at the 4. Obviously, Harrison at the 5.
Taylor's your choice, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, depending on health and fitness. Yeah, because I don't know how much he's played. When he was playing in the CBA in China, he left. There was an injury, is my understanding. I feel Matthias can make more of an impact off the bench, but at least for this first game post the break, it comes down to is JFL fit or not.
But if you were coaching, you could choose. You'd have Nordo, Smack, JFL, Taylor, Harrison.
Health and fitness permitting.
So starting off, Nordo, Matthias, JFL, Taylor, and Harrison. For me, Smack's coming off the bench for now just because he's been out for such a long time with that injury. I really don't know fitness-wise if he's ready to go full bang at Cotton for that first game. I definitely think once he's back in full fitness, he moves back into the starting lineup. I'm in agreement with both of you on Nordo. I don't like Nordo starting. That usage that you've already spoken about is a concern. So I'd like to move him once again, once they've settled in a little bit, move him to the bench and have Matthias running the point. I think he works really well there. I'm bleeding JFL and Taylor in this game just to see how they go. If Taylor's struggling a little bit, then maybe throw Holt into there. I just need Holt as that backup for Harrison, so that's why I don't have him starting. I don't want to push that and have those
We've got
two.
Tohu back now.
That's still a concern. Watching him in that last game, and I know it's been over a week, and he only had limited minutes in the Tall Blacks game. I think that hand injury still looked a little bit iffy for him, especially from shooting. So I'd still have those two coming off the bench as backups in those two positions and bleed Taylor. For me, it's not going to hurt us any more than what we're already hurting in terms of position on the ladder. So throw them in there against a team like Adelaide and really test them early on to see how they go.
So who would you have picking up Cotton out of that? Is that Nordo?
Yeah, Nordo defends Cotton really well. I think it was last year, early on in the season, and Nordo had him and he kept Cotton to 5 points, and he's been really good throughout. He played how many years with Cotton. I'd have
Yeah.
Nordo on Cotton from the get-go. Really, he just defends him so well. Even if Cotton gets a few shots off here and there, he's making Cotton work so damn hard for everything he gets.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I didn't take that into account, actually. I've totally claimed Mitch as our own, and I forgot that he was in Perth for all those years.
Yeah.
Look at me. He's a Brisbane boy. He's a Queensland boy. He just always should have been here. Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good point. And I think that starting five will be over mine, but that's why we do this. We do this to go, if you could do it, what would you do?
Yeah.
And so we're asking you as well, listeners, who would your starting five be? Let us know. Drop it in the comments. We'll have this clip on our socials. So let us know who your starting five would be. It's all hypothetical. Who cares?
Yep.
Another thing that's come out during this time in the NBA and WNBA, at this moment of the season is when the big trades would start happening. And so it got me thinking about trades because I do love trades. I love the idea of trades and I love how they do trades in the WNBA because I've seen teams make such a massive difference. But when they do trades, the W pays for everything. So they do full family relocation. A lot of times in the W, partners aren't working, so everything's easily shiftable. A lot of the young women don't have partners, so they're very easy to get moving. They use private jets now, so everything is just easier. They set them up with the apartment. They do all of the things that need to be done. In the NBL, partners usually have jobs, kids are in schools, and so you're having to rip up a lot. And then the NBL doesn't have the money, apparently, to be able to do the move for them. So who pays for the move itself as well? Who's going to set them up in the apartment, etc., etc. So it is tricky. And also, what do they trade for? Because I don't believe player to player is an equal trade. And if you want a top player from Brisbane to move to Perth for a finals push, so if they're like, we want Casey Prather, it's great. You can have Casey, but you're going to have to give us this player because we're probably going to waive them straight away plus. And so it's usually and often cash, but it's also a draft pick for next season. Minnesota just got draft pick number 2 in the WNBA because they did the trade, I think it was with Dallas at the end of last season. And so it matters. I'd love to see it, but it's not realistic for the NBL at the moment because there's not enough money in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. In theory, great idea. Would be great if it could happen. But everything you've mentioned already, the relocation, kids, partners, things like that, it just doesn't work. We don't have the money in the league for it. I can't see it happening anytime soon.
It can happen without it being a formal process. And it has happened in the past when Sam Menenga left Cairns to go to New Zealand. It was effectively a trade for cash. I think that's how Olgunua reported it. Others have highlighted, well, the size of the league is a limiting factor, and I pretty much agree with that. We don't have the mass in the NBL that there is in other bigger leagues to justify using it.
Just on that Menenga thing, I believe when we let Sobey go, that may have been a similar sort of thing. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, because he was still contracted to the Bullets. So I believe there was one of these sort of trade for cash things that happened for him to go to
maybe there was a
Phoenix.
buyout. My recollection with Sobes leaving was he wanted an extension before the free agency was even anywhere near starting. The Bullets were like, leave it till free agency or whatever.
Yeah.
If you have somewhere to go, then, we'd have something to discuss. And that's ended up what actually happened.
I do remember the Bullets saying as well that they made sure he went to the right club too. So they didn't just go, see ya, you're out. I think they actually worked with him and other clubs to see who would be interested.
Yeah.
They did do a little bit of duty of care there, even though the coach said silly things. Okay, now we get to have a bit of fun because we're not doing unrealistic. I've seen on some outlets who've picked up the trade thing and they've done ridiculous trades. And I was like, that's just silly. But if we could make one trade for the Bullets, who would it be? What would you do? And I thought, oh, this would be easy. And then you sit down, you're like, I want that player, but I don't want to give up any of my players. Can't I have my cake and eat it too? It was really hard. And so what I came up with, because of course I'm going to go big man on this because I just still feel like we're missing a piece there. I haven't seen Terry Taylor play, so don't know. So my trade would be, because I want to see a little bit more size and athleticism down there, it would be Tohi Smith-Milner for Kyron Galloway or Jalen Galloway. Not going to be overly fussy there because I think they both bring so much. So that would be my trade, a realistic trade, because it needs to be, would the other team give them up as well if the money was right? So nobody's going to give us grass cotton.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that need for the more size. It was definitely a hard thing to think about. I spent a bit of time last night before I fell asleep going over this one in my head. And I went through our roster and had a look at, okay, who are we underutilizing? And that's where I've gone in terms of who I would move on from the Bullets. And so I've gone Jack Purchase. My trade isn't quite a like for like, but I'd probably trade for, say, Fabian Krislovic just to bolster that backcourt. We've got all these guards and small forwards already, and having that extra piece in the backcourt is definitely what we need. And it also means if Taylor doesn't quite work out at that 4 spot and we've got to move into maybe the 3, where he's probably size-wise a better fit, then we could potentially bring Holt in at the 4, and you've got Fabian as that backup 5. And he stretches the floor really well as well. I just don't know if Melbourne would want to let him go for a Jack Purchase.
Maybe if they're ready to develop, maybe. But that's the perfect moment that you'd want a trade, because Krislovic is a little bit further down their roster spot and down their bench.
Yeah.
And so they could let him go for a nice little cash deal. And this is where it's like, we'll give
Yeah.
you a draft pick or whatever. We'll give you this, and you can have this player that's down there. This is why I love trades, because players like Fabian Krislovic are playing a small role in a team like Melbourne, and they could play a big role coming into Brisbane. And so
Yeah.
it really helps the player as well. That actually would help Fabian, and Jack Purchase would go into an elite program to be developed. So that
Yeah.
I don't think that's really unrealistic. I think that would actually be quite realistic for him. How'd you go, Scott?
I would put up Tohi for Majuk Deng, similar in that, yeah, there are 4 who can play minutes at the 5, a small ball 5, or spot minutes 5. I don't know the stats, but I thought maybe Majuk Deng is a slightly better shooter. That's just my thinking.
Yeah. A little bit more athletic as well.
Yeah.
A lot more athletic.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, I like this. All of the 3 trades that we've talked about, all of those players. And so Kyron was my number 1, and Jalen, I just went, oh, I quite like him too. So I'd take it because he has that ability to stretch the 1 to 4 positions, really. With all of these trades that we're speaking about, the thing that comes to mind is just depth. I was like, gee, that'd bring depth. Gee, that'd bring depth. Gee, that'd bring depth. So this is where trades can really work, but we have to take everything to account, and the chances of it happening are slim to none. Okay, the other thing that came out, the infamous Derek Rucker, top 15. Now, they did say this morning, because Damon Lowry today did a let's pull apart Derek Rucker's top 15, because I don't agree with you. Surprise. And they did say this is Derek Rucker's top 15. This is not the NBL's top 15. This is nobody else's top 15. Derek nerds out, and he's got his own process, and he looks at his own thing and does his thing. What I did notice was how many big men were in there. I was like, Derek Rucker, you little point guard. Look at you putting the big men in the lineup. Thank you very much. 3 big men in the top 5 and no Bullets players. And rightly so for now. The only thing I can say about his actual list is that if Casey did not have a season-ending injury, he would be in there, because he was in his top 15 prior to the season. And I think he was like number 8. So how did you guys see it?
Yeah, I must admit that the 3 big man thing in the top 5, that's an interesting one. I think it was Mark Worthington who came out and said earlier this week that he believes there's been a shift this season and that we're starting to see a resurgence of the big men in the NBL.
We are.
And I think that is an indicator. I don't take much stock in this top 15, especially from Rucker. He leaves Bryce Hamilton out and then uses excuses along the lines of the team isn't doing well enough and so forth. But then he's got a JaVale McGee and Jack McVeigh in there. He constantly contradicts himself, makes excuses with these things. So I think it's all a bit of a joke at the end of the day. And not having Prather in, I get he's got his injury, but up until that injury, he was top 5. So at least put him in there still because it's mid-season. He was playing up until only a couple of weeks ago. So that sort of counts for me. He should be in there as well. And to me, that's just another indication of the hate that Rucker throws at the Brisbane Bullets. I'd really like to know what the Bullets did to him to cause all this hate that he throws.
Where would you have put Prather in the top 15 right now as it stands?
I probably would have had him at 5.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I forget the injury. I'm not even worried about that injury because that's only recently happened.
Not the injury. For me, the team performance, I couldn't put him in the top 5. I'd have him in the top 15, no question. I'd have him about number 8 or 9.
Yeah, I would have gone
around
5.
about wherever Jack McVeigh is, I'd have him just above that.
Okay.
So I think if McVeigh was about 8. Yeah. So I'd go higher than that.
Yeah.
Because he's as important as McVeigh, but we're just that little bit better of a team at the moment.
Yeah.
What I noticed is Rucker used to be quite Brisbane friendly until we got the new coach. There was a commentator once who said, Derek, are you up for the job? And I think he actually started thinking about having that job. And then because he wasn't asked or anything, that's the moment I saw the way he speaks about Brisbane change a bit.
Do you think that he would have been serious about thinking about it if there was some dialogue there? Because I don't know how serious he could have been about it.
He said it. He said, yeah, I'd consider it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comments in socials, people have asked him as well, and he said, oh, there'd be lots of terms and conditions or whatever. But
yeah. So I think he's just got a little bee in his bonnet around that. Because he doesn't have much to say about Brisbane these days.
No, and that's going to be the case until we're more competitive. That's the reality. The top 15, I just genuinely, I don't place a lot of value in it. Here's a general cliche, but someone on the internet is wrong. Everybody's got their opinions and everyone's entitled to their opinions. And it's just done to drive engagement. And maybe a lot of the tragics and the diehards, including us, are the ones who will pay more attention to it regardless. And I think if Casey didn't have a season-ending injury, I believe he would have been top 10.
Yeah.
I believe he was on track before the injury to be either all NBL or in that ballpark.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is only done to get people talking about the NBL. And Felix Van Hoff says it all the time. Who cares what we're saying? We just need people talking about the NBL, good, bad, the ugly. Have arguments, go for it. And so I think so many people wait for Ruckers to come out so they can roll their eyes at it, as much as people who love his work come out. But I believe that if Casey was just injured and he was coming back, he would have still been in the top 15. So if it wasn't a season-ending injury, once it's season-ending, I just don't think you can be in the conversation. So I agree that at this point he can't be there. If I was doing it, I wouldn't put him in because it's season-ending and it's academic at this point because he's just not going to be there.
Yep.
But what was really interesting, Derek explained the difference between Bryce Hamilton and JaVale McGee, and I really agree with him because I would have had Bryce Hamilton in my top 15 though. Let's just be clear on that. But I also agreed with why McGee was 3?
Yeah.
And that's because when you play Tassie, you need to allow for Bryce Hamilton and you need to put your best defender on him. Absolutely. But they're not having a massive effect on what a team has to do to be able to play. You're just as worried and you've got scouts for the other players as well. But when you're playing against McGee, you have to change everything that you are thinking about doing massively. You have to revolve your scout around him first and then all the contingencies and everything go after that. So he is such a shining light, same as Bryce Cotton, same as Kendrick Davis. You're like, what the hell are we going to do with him? What's the best we can do and put around it? And then we'll work from there. So everyone works from JaVale McGee out when they're looking at a scout. And so that's what makes him a great player. I totally agree with Rucker as well, which I found really surprising. I was like, oh, I agree with you there. Look at us, Derek. That McGee hasn't been used to his potential because the guards don't know how to play with a big man. Like you said, Cam, we're having a resurgence of the big man, thank the gods, this season, but that doesn't mean our guards know what to do with them and know how to feed them the ball, because we've played a different style in this league for such a long time. So a big man is often only as good as the guards that can get the ball to him, which is what we see consistently with the Bullets. And also McGee is in there because he plays both ends of the floor. He's not some loping old big man who can't get up the floor. He's actually moving and staying with the game. And he has averaged 21.5 points per game, 2.2 assists, 10.5 rebounds, and 59% field goals. And so when I see that, I'm like, I actually agree that he's number 3, no matter where his team is, but also his team has beaten some of the top teams in the league. But I would have had Bryce Hamilton in as well. And Bryce Hamilton sitting at 19.3 points, 3.6 assists, 4.7 rebounds, 50% field goals.
Yeah.
So there's a difference there for me.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with McGee being in there. I understand. But yeah, it's just sometimes that difference there that he does. And there are a couple of players that I could probably name. I'd have Bryce Hamilton in over Goulding and Cooks being the main
I wouldn't
two.
have Cooks in. Yeah, I wouldn't have Cooks in. And what was really interesting was that Damon Lowry said he would have Edwards out. Edwards was like 4th. He doesn't play enough minutes to earn that spot. He's good when he plays them, but he's only playing these minutes. So if he was playing big minutes and having a massive impact, then I think he would be in there. But I could leave him at 16. So it's just really interesting to hear how people see it. Yeah, we're going to leave that. What do you guys think? Anyone from the Bullets deserve to be in the top 15? Let us know. It's all hypothetical. Okay, a big game happened during the week, the Boomers versus the Tall Blacks. And we're talking about it because 4 of our Bullets players were in there. And how did our Bullets perform? What was a shame about this was I couldn't find a box score and stats on the game. Nowhere. That's a bit of a bummer, because I would have liked to have seen the plus minus and things like that from this game to really have a bit of a look at it. It was a close game. I only actually caught the last quarter. I'm not usually that interested in watching New Zealand versus Australia because Australia usually wins by so much. And I think I saw something pop up on my social media and it said New Zealand were ahead at half time. I was like, what's going on here? I'd best go and check this out. And so I did. And I was actually a little bit excited when I first started watching it for the Tall Blacks. I was like, look at you guys go. I love seeing the big men. I love the big men. So I was looking at the Aussie ones, which were pretty good, but I was looking at the New Zealand bench and I was like, geez, I'd take those big men any day in my team. My dream team really is Tyrell and Menenga. I just love the 2 of them and what they deliver to the game. So for me, I was just staring at what New Zealand were doing until I realised that I didn't actually want New Zealand to win. And I actually wanted Australia to win. And I was like, snap out of it, Tracy. Start cheering for your country. So it was a great win by the Boomers.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the game. I'd completely forgotten about it. And it wasn't until I think it must have been the exact same post that you saw, Tracy, that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's on tonight. But I just decided I'll leave it out for now.
Did you watch it all, Scott?
I got home and it was late in the second quarter, so it was a few minutes to go to half time. But as the saying goes, as long as we beat New Zealand, we've got to at least do that. And yeah, our guys, Dukas limited minutes. Tohi and Tay Murray, I don't think they had huge minutes. Ty, he played certainly more minutes than the other guys, but he's backing up Yanni Wetzel and Sam Menenga. He's not the main big. So it's interesting to see the dynamic being a bit different. We've got another game, but it's in New Zealand Monday afternoon.
And so with this FIBA, these are qualifiers, is that right?
But the World
And so
Championships next year is my understanding. Yeah.
why are we playing New Zealand so many times? Is that
Good
normal that
question.
we do
Not
this?
really sure. It's
Not
just part of
sure.
the
I don't
qualification
understand
process.
any of it. And there's
Yeah.
no page that can tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say the Thai limited minutes thing in this game is probably because of the bigs that Australia are rolling out. Probably not a great matchup for Thai in that, and because they've got that ability to chop and change at their bigs coming in behind Menenga and Wetzel.
We've got our team coming back in the coming week, and we've got Bullets playing Adelaide on Friday, the 5th of December at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. So, with this game, both teams will be fresh. Did Adelaide have any boomers or tall blacks?
Clint Cameron.
Yeah.
Yep, thanks. Let's take that into account as well, because I've looked, I was like, right, are Adelaide playing any team before us? And we're the second.
No.
We've got them first up, and we've got 4 of our players who represented their country and have been out playing these games, and Adelaide have got 1, and we're playing them at home. How are you going to see this one, Cam?
Yeah. So I'm expecting a 36ers win. Although in saying that, the Bullets do tend to play well in Adelaide. I don't know why. It just they really seem to like that Adelaide court. But Adelaide have worked out a lot of their kinks, and now they've added in that third import. They're just looking so much more dangerous. I've got a big question mark over this game just because of the outs that we've had. So they've not been there for training. Plus, you've got JFL and Terry Taylor coming in. So I'm interested to see how JFL goes with his return match, and then looking forward to seeing Terry Taylor, what he can provide. And I'm just unsure of what to expect. So this will be a good test for these new guys coming in, plus Smack returning, and can all these pieces fit together nicely and turn them into a competitive team. I'm going, if we can keep the margin under 10, then that's an okay loss for me. I think we've done a decent job against an Adelaide team that's looking pretty good at the moment.
Boring, but I see it similar to Cam in terms of if it's in single figures, that would be, I hate to say pass mark, but they're up against it in terms of the returning players plus the new addition of Taylor and not having the combination or the conditioning, or even if he does have conditioning, the chemistry and the combinations, that's going to take time. And so it first came back after the break. It's a bit of an uphill battle to have that combination from the jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think they'll win, Scott?
I want to be proven wrong, but yeah, it's hard to see that happening.
Okay. Don't like your yes or no, do you? Just go with
So
it.
if you want a yes or no, it's a no.
There you go.
I'm,
There you go,
I'm,
done. Just
I'm very glass half
cares if
empty
you're
right
wrong?
now with the state of things, Trace.
And we have to be, because look, I've got them losing as well, because it's just the reality is, do I honestly think they will win? No, because they haven't shown me they've got the pieces to be able to win this game yet. So I
Me
can
neither.
only go with
Not saying it.
what I've got in front of me. And what I've got in front of me is Bryce Cotton, who's getting better and better every game. He's Casey Prather. You think veterans are going to start doing this, and these veterans are doing this.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary what he's able to do on his home floor, nice and fresh. He's a man on a mission. He is not going to let us walk in there and win this game. We've got Isaac White, who's been stepping up. Adelaide are hitting their strides. DJ Vasiljevic is just figuring out that once he's put on the bench, like coach has gone, we'll just pop you down the bench. He's like, how about I play my way into the starting lineup? There's too much going for them for us to stop this team with too many unknowns. So JFL has played 1 game. It's not like he's coming back into the league and he knows the league well and he's had all this time here. We've seen him in 1 game. Preseason really
I
doesn't
think it's
count.
2 actually. New Zealand and
Was it
Cairns.
2?
Cairns was the one where he had
But he
that
got
ankle
injured in
aggravation.
Cairns, didn't he?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
late
and
in
that
that
was
game.
right at the end. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. 2 games. He's had 2 games. I believe Adelaide will win this. And I just hope to hell our big man game looks good. And I want to see who runs the point for us. I'm going to be looking at that position really interestingly. I agree with the decision to let go of Adams, but I don't think he was handled well enough back then to be able to get the best out of him. So I'm going to be looking at the point and seeing what they're doing here, because they chose not to bring a point guard back in, a specialist point guard back in. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in the who's going to step up later, but I really would love to see Matthias step in there and do that point role. I want to see how he looks there.
Yeah.
The only way I see us winning this is by us shocking them, because they don't know how to scout us, because we've got 3 players that they haven't really seen before. So we might be in, but as I said last time, when we flip the coin, it doesn't often land bullet side up. So either we're going to shock them by they're not going to know really how to scout us very well, or if Taylor can come in, often when an import comes in and has their first game, often they just get the luck of the roll in the first game they come in and they shoot the lights out. So that's the only way that I see us winning, but I don't have us down for the win. Yeah. So who needs to step up in this game? I've just touched on it. If my starting 5 stands and I get my wish of Dakota Mathias running that point along with Nordo, but I want a big game from Dakota Mathias. I think we're really going to need that. I want to see someone other than Nordo, or as well as Nordo, step up and take this team and just go, I will lead you. I don't think that there is enough leaders in this team. I don't think we have an identity yet. And as always, it will always be Ty as well. I need him to step up. When Aron Baynes said it, I was like, maybe that will help Ty to do it, because somebody of that caliber is saying it. And I will say it every single game. He absolutely needs to step up. We cannot do it without him. When he scores 20 points or more, we win. It's really that simple. Casey Prather was scoring 30 plus points and we were losing. When Ty gets his 20, we win. And so feed the big man. So I want those 2 to step up.
Yeah, I'm going with Ty for this one. I think this matchup with Humphreys for him suits him a lot better than a lot of the slightly smaller bigs out there. So I want to see the team feed him early, get him going, get his confidence up, and let him just roll. Because I agree, if he's getting over that 20 points per game, we are always in with a better shot of winning or being close in the match.
How about you, Scott?
Dakota for me. If he's doing any facilitating, it needs to be tight, clean passes, finding guys open.
Yep. Yeah. And Dakota for me as well, because for Ty to shine, we need a great point guard. We need someone who's going to be able to feed it in there. And so that's really big. Okay, our Yeah Nah this week was requested by one of our listeners. Thank you so much, Donna Pillen. After hearing me talk so much about Cheryl Reeves, it got her thinking, and she asks, do you think we will ever see a female head coach in the NBL? Apart from Fleur McIntyre in Sydney a few years back, I don't remember any other female, even assistant, in the coaching ranks. How about you, Cam? What do you reckon? Yeah, nah.
Yeah, great question, Donna. I just want to say shout out to Donna for this. So Donna and my family go way back. She's got a great basketball mind, so I really do love this question. I say yeah, but it's tinged with it's going to be a long time before it happens.
How long? Give me a time. I've put a time in.
Yeah.
I've said I'll give you mine in a minute. So when you say a long time, is it like next generation?
I say 10 to 15 years, as sad as that sounds.
Yep.
And the reason that I say it is just the league struggling to get teams to hire our local male coaches as it is at the moment. We've got 2 teams who owners hired their mates. We know who those teams are. And then a few others have gone for overseas coaches, all male. Bringing in even an import female coach, I find really unlikely. And just on all of that, I think there's a way to stop it and maybe make it happen quicker, especially our local women coaches, is make the coaching staff part of our import restrictions. So if you've got a coach from outside of Australia or New Zealand, then that counts towards your 3 imports. And let's see how quickly things change in that department.
The interesting
Makes me
idea, Cam.
nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good shout by Donna. Yeah, Pete Hurley, he advocated for Fleur McIntyre when there was a vacancy at the Sydney Kings, and he felt that Fleur was a strong candidate when the vacancy was there, but she's gone to the US now. Longer term, I just don't see it in even like the next 10 years, unfortunately. Sandy Brondello, people like that who are very experienced, very well qualified, would bring a lot, but I just don't see it happening because the inertia and the culture of the way the league is right now. The locally homegrown head coaches, Ford, really, Vickerman, like Cam's mentioned, they're the 3 out of the 10 who are homegrown. There's a reluctance to hire locals, let alone a female, unfortunately. So not in the immediate future.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a champion of women. I want to say yeah. I want to be positive, and I am a nah. No way. God, no. And I'll tell you why. And I would say not at least a decade or more, but I genuinely can't see it happening. I watch the WNBA, they don't even hire enough women coaches. And thankfully, there's outrage at recent signings, New York Liberty, Dallas Wings, and new franchise team Portland Fire all disappointed men as their head coaches, and the public went wild. And I'm like, good. At least we're speaking about it. At least we're showing our outrage that women are not being hired for a women's league. So when the best women's league in the world isn't hiring enough women as their head coaches, then how on earth will the NBL, who has no pathway for coaches, ever be open enough to put women in those roles? It's really disappointing, Donna, and I wish I could be optimistic with this one. So let me give you some stats. Currently in the WNBA, the top women's league in the world, there are 8 men and 7 women head coaches. In the WNBL, there are 2 female head coaches and 6 male head coaches. And on that note, Donna, because you raise a really great point, because Fleur McIntyre is the assistant GM over at the Phoenix Mercury, where Sammy Whitcomb played last season, women in leadership roles. How many NBL teams and clubs have women in leadership roles? There is so much research that is being done of the benefits of having women in leadership roles. It's not funny. Fleur had to go to the WNBA to get that role as an assistant because it probably wouldn't have been available to her in the NBL. We have been speaking so much about a GM of basketball. I cannot tell you how excited I get when I think about Fleur McIntyre being hired as a GM of basketball for the Bullets. Imagine that. Imagine that. So
Yeah.
that would have made such an incredibly positive difference to our club. So I'm a nah, and I'm really disappointed to say it's a nah. And geez, I hope I'm wrong on that someday.
I'd like to be wrong about it too.
Me too. Me too.
I just have a recommendation. Chris Tetley, he's a member in some of the supporter groups, I believe, and he has a podcast called Scoreboard. And so there's other people in other sporting organizations that he interviews. And he had Leroy Loggins as a guest a few months ago. So it's episode 119, and it was back in August. So if you can find it, it's well worth a listen.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What did you like about it?
Oh, just the story of when Leroy came to Australia, his career, how he came to stay in Australia. Like he went to Adelaide, then he came back to Brisbane, all those things. I could listen to Leroy for hours, but there's some more info. It's worth a listen.
Does he talk about the current Bullets?
A little bit.
Okay.
Does he touch on a few years ago where he didn't have anything to do with the club?
Just listen.
Okay. I'll go have a listen. I'll go find it.
All right, beautiful. We have come to the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Bullets fans, for joining us today. And remember, let us know, who would your starting 5 be? Who would you trade if you could? What do you think about the podcast? We are still working to bring Jonny Drama back, and we will not stop until he is back where he wants to be. So thank you for joining us in this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next week with the Bullets Nation podcast.
From the river city under bright skies, where the hustle and heart always rise. One team, one voice, we're giving our all. Feel the rush, hear the crowd, Bullets Nation. We're strong and loud. From the river city under bright skies, where the hustle and heart always rise. One team, one voice, we're giving our all. Feel the rush, hear the crowd, Bullets Nation. We're strong and we're strong and loud. Bullets Nation, we're strong and loud.